Hi, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again today. This is Rotax 447, part number 7, which is going to be how to adjust the timing. And this engine has a CDI, or electronic ignition. Primarily, I'll be using this tool right here. It threads into the spark plug hole, and the piston raises and lowers the shaft and gives us a reading up here. So follow along and I'll show you how he set the timing on this engine. The stator, of course, sits back on and torqued up. Magneto flywheel, the big nut in the middle here, is torqued up. And we've got our ignition trigger, or the ignition pickup, whatever you'd like to call it, roughly installed. And then we have our timing marks here. And now we need to set the timing. So how do we do that? Well, I have a dial indicator set here, and well, why can't I read the dial on it? Okay, I'm going to explain that. The specifications for this, for the before top dead center, is I've found it at 84 thousandths and 86 thousandths with no compensation, because we're going straight down in line with the piston, so we read directly off the piston. So there's no compensation required like on a 503, you know, where the plugs go in on an angle. Now, I'm not very happy with when I see multiple specs around for these things, because I want to know where it's actually supposed to be. So here's what I just go back to the original corrected or uncorrected documents that I could find, and instead of looking on the internet. So this is the original 447 single CDI ignition, which is what this engine is. Now, ignition timing right here, we'll make it a little bigger, and ignition timing is 18 degrees, and that means before top dead center. So this is what I really want. I'm not interested now anymore in whatever this number is, arbitrary number is in thousandths of an inch before top dead center, because I don't trust it. I see it different readings. So what's my setup I have here? So of course I have my degree wheel in here, and the pointer is right there. You can see my pointer, and I'm on 0. How did I determine where 0 is? Because this could be off a little bit either way. So if we look at the pointer, it's right on top dead center, right at 0, no matter which way I move it. But see, I can move it a little bit here if you're watching. See, there's a little bit I can move it, and I don't want that. I need to know exactly where 18 degrees is. So how I determine this is, and I've already set this, but and how I did it was I started at 0 when it was at 0 there, and then I went back and forth to get an even reading on each side. So I'll go to the left and I'll go to 10 degrees, and if you can see up there, it goes to 32. And then I go back to 0, I go 10 degrees the other way, and it goes to 32. So I know that exactly halfway in between these 2 points, which happens to be 10 and 10, is 0. So this is true top dead center. So this is on 0, but this is like the ultimate of accuracy here. This is the way this works, okay? Now, direction of rotation is counterclockwise as I'm looking at it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back before top dead center, and I want to go to line up the pointer with 18 degrees, because that's my real spec, my factory spec. So, and this is really tight, and I know I'm turning it by the degree wheel, but it's not going to change. So there is 18 degrees right on, 18 degrees right on. So now let's go up here and read what we have. So this is at actually 22 from 0. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20, and 2. So now I'm going to continue on and we'll go back to 0. So let's count up here backwards. So we're going to go towards top dead center, because in reality, the spark plug just fired right there at 18 degrees. So, and that's at 22. Then that's 0, so that's 22. And then we go all the way around back to 0, and that's 50. So that's 50 and 22, 72. So 72,000. So let's check this the other way using the dial indicator now that I have a inches specification, I believe. So we're going to go reverse rotation. So we're going to go back. So there's 25, 45, there's 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, and 72, right on. And what does that give us down here? Here, we'll just do this. So it's bang on 18 degrees. So now I have a timing spec that I will actually believe. So we'll just go through that again, and we'll go backwards. So now I'm at 18, that's where I left it. Now I'm going to go in the direction of rotation to top dead center. So this is where we're going to count, and it's 22 to up to the 0. So there's 22, and once around is 50. So there's our 72, and then when we come down here, of course, we're absolutely spot on at 0 again. So the correct, what I would consider the correct number for the timing on this with a direct reading, so no compensation, straight down through the top, straight from, whoops, let me move this, let me unzoom this thing. So with no compensation, straight down onto the top of the piston is 72 thousandths of an inch before top dead center to get 18 degrees, which is what this spec is. So far cry different. So now what would happen if I went and I said, okay, well, I believe what I read somewhere else and it says 86. Okay, so let's do that. So here's 0, and I'm going to go back before, so there's 50, right? And then we go halfway down, so that's 75. Another 5 is 80. And another 5 is 85. And 1 is 86. Okay, so that, oh, just a minute, I'm out of tick there. There we go. Well, it doesn't really want to stay there. 81, 86. Okay, so let me drop this down and we'll see how many degrees we have now, because this is getting pretty interesting now. So here we have right on 20 degrees. So 2 degrees difference. And you go, well, you know what, 2 degrees, not that much. You know, for me, the specification is 18 degrees, and that's where it's going to go to. A couple of degrees extra, you never know. Maybe it's going to want to overheat. Maybe it's going to get some gas one day that's not very good, and it's going to start and ping. Who knows? It's supposed to be 18 degrees, which is right there. And that's what it's going to get. And that makes our 72 if we were using the dial indicator. So I'll be spinning the dial indicator around because now I know where I need to be. So I'm going to turn this all around now, and we'll get set up and go back and do it now that I've confirmed, and we'll get into this the way I normally do it. Okay, so let's flip this around. It's sitting at 72 right now. So I'm going to turn my meter, and And of course it moved just a tick when I was doing that. A thou. Okay. So there. Okay. Now here we go. So we'll come back a little more. Okay, so here now we get to our regular setup. And so we'll continue around back to top dead center just to make sure that when I spun it, I moved it a bit. I know I did. So I'm going to re-zero it. And I'll take that as a 0. So now I know my number. Now I have an accurate number that I trust. So we're going to go back 72. So there's 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, and 72. And now my pointer here is where I want it. This whole pickup is visually high. We see the little space here and the big space here. So this even visually, this looks like it should be, because when I did this at 86 degrees, it was quite a ways down. So let's go to 86 just for fun. So there's 86 right there. And then when I look at this, I go, wow, will this even go that far? And where's my little indicator? 1 second. Okay, now I found it. So when I use my little indicator and I look at it's like on an angle, it should be straight across anyway. So I can't even make this go low enough to set the timing. So right away I look at this and I go, nope, there's something wrong here, definitely. So this is why I got to go backwards and verify exactly what I've got. So I'm just going back again. So there's 50, 71, 72 is where my new spec is. If I spin the engine around, I'm going to see that it says 18 degrees. And right there, I'm in the good position. So my pickup here is a little bit high. So I'm going to correct that. And as soon as I find the right tool here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just loosen these guys off. And let me move this over here. So I'm going to loosen these two off, and I'm just going to move it straight down and just sort of gently snug it up. So what do I have now is, well, it's a little too far down. Okay, so I can fix that. So now I'm keeping some pressure on it with my thumb there, and I'm just going to slide it up. Now I still have to set the gap. Whoops. I still have to set the gap, but I'm pretty happy with that line on there. Let's put a little bit of silver on there for make it a little easier to see. Yeah, that makes it better. Then we'll go, yep, oh, I'd be happy with that. Now we need to do the gap on it next. So this is where we need to get my correct feeler strip. And of course, it's brass. I'm at top dead center, which lines up the 2 points here. And whoa, that's actually almost there. So let me go back again to where I should be at 72 or 18 degrees, as we know now. And whoops, sorry, wrong way. All right, so there we go right there. Now what I do when I'm looking, I want to do a very small adjustment. I want to tighten the gap up a little bit. So do I want to move the whole part in? Do I want to turn it this way? Do I want to turn it a little bit that way? So the angle or the sight line on this line is what I'm looking for now. And exaggerated, it's down a little bit this way. So what I want to do then is I'm going to move the bottom of it over just a bit. So I'm going to put it back to where it needs to go there, and then I want to get a screwdriver. I'm just going to just put this in here, and I'm just going to move this ever so slightly. There's my feeler strip in right there. And yep, I saw it move. It didn't really move of anything to speak of. So that's a beautiful gap in there now. So again, let's go back to where we were. So top dead center, let's go backwards to our 72 or 18 degrees. And now let's have a look at it. And I love it. That's awesome. So what I did was I took this, if we have this, and as I said, exaggerated, it was down like that. Now it's nice parallel right across. So no, really happy with that. This is just a little strip of aluminum that I had bent up. It's just a way to be able to visualize this that I like to use. So no, happy with that. And go back, recheck our gap. Primo, perfect. Okay, and then now I'll go get my inch pounds and torque these up to 55 inches. Okay, so here we go. So set it 55 inch pounds. That's done. Okay. And then we get a check mark because it's done. So the timing is set right to specifications of 18 degrees. So let's review. This is 72 thousandths before top dead center in inches, 72 thousandths of an inch. And let's move down here, and here's our timing marks that line up perfectly. I've done the gap already in here, and it's torqued up, and it's got my check mark on it. So we're done. So now, without changing, moving anything, let's just go around to the backside now, and let's see what our degree wheel says. Okay, where's camera? Okay, right there, and right there. Okay, so here's our indicator, and there's indicating on that line at 18 degrees, right on the money. So when there's any indication that something just doesn't seem right, it's got multiple specs. As I showed you, we're going to go back to the original documentation, which was 18 degrees, and we worked backwards, as you saw, and got our indication of 72 72 thousandths of an inch before top dead center with no compensation straight down. So I'll be making a note of this. Well, it'll go on this build sheet for this engine, but for next time I won't have to do all of this when I do another one of these engines. I'm just going to go directly to 72 thousandths of an inch before top dead center, and I know it's right because it's the specification that, well, I guess I made it because we just figured it out using the degree wheel, and the degree wheel doesn't lie. I hope you enjoyed the video on adjusting the timing on this 447 CDI. And typically, this is all we're using. We have a known specification, and that's great. But when it doesn't sound right, which this did not sound right to me, it didn't make sense, then let's go back to the original specifications of degrees in crankshaft rotation, use the degree wheel. And what did I do? I used that, and I just worked backwards to find out the reading that I wanted on the dial indicator. Now I'm happy the timing is set correctly. I guess in the end, would it have made a difference if it had another degree or two on it? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I don't really want to find out. There's specifications for a reason, and that's where it was supposed to be set to. So just because it's somewhere written down that this is what you should use on the dial indicator doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. It's like a lot of things in aviation. If the answer just seems a little off, that's telling you something. Does it really make sense or not? So stop and check it out and find out. Thanks for tuning in again today. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you again now. Happy flying.